The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from 7 major species gathered around the crystalline conference table. Admiral Zexthu of the Kralian Empire slammed his 4-armed fist against the surface, sending ripples through the holographic star charts floating above them. "This is madness," his translator crackled. 500 warships to hunt down one primitive human? We could conquer entire star systems with that fleet. High Magistrate Veltar, a serpentine being whose species had dominated trade routes for millennia, coiled her lengthy body in frustration. "You underestimate the threat, Admiral. This human has already eliminated 3 of our most elite strike forces. 47 ships. Gone without a trace." The chamber fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems. On the main display, a single photograph rotated slowly. A weathered human face with steel-gray eyes and scars marking his jaw. The name beneath read, Captain Marcus Chen, Terran Special Operations. "Impossible," whispered Commander Thakron, of the beetle-like Scarvian Collective. His mandibles clicked nervously. "No single being could destroy our vessels. Our ships carry crews of thousands, armed with plasma cannons that could melt asteroids." Veltar's eyes glowed with bitter memory. "Tell that to the crew of the dreadnought Carveshan. We found their ship drifting in deep space. Every system sabotaged from within. Security footage showed this human appearing like a ghost, moving through corridors that should have been impossible to navigate. He turned their own weapons against them." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. For 3 centuries, their alliance had maintained peace through superior technology and overwhelming firepower. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Their homeworld glassed 50 years ago during the brief Terran conflict. Yet somehow, this one survivor had become a nightmare that haunted their dreams. "Where did he come from?" asked General Moxdai, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into prismatic patterns. "Our intelligence networks detected no human colonies, no hidden bases." Admiral Zexthu activated a star chart with coordinates marked in pulsing red. "Our best analysis suggests he's been living in the void sector, dead space between galaxies. No resources, no habitable worlds, just cosmic radiation and debris fields from ancient wars. Living how?" Thakron's compound eyes focused intently on the display. "Nothing could survive out there for decades. We don't know," Veltar admitted, her voice carrying undertones of fear that her species rarely showed. "But 3 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected energy signatures moving through the sector. When we sent the battlecruiser Nalgoreth to investigate, it never returned. 2 weeks later, we found it crashed into a dead moon. Crew missing, all data cores wiped clean." The council chamber's temperature seemed to drop as each representative contemplated the implications. Their combined fleets numbered in the tens of thousands, yet one human had them genuinely terrified. "This human fought in their military," continued Veltar, accessing historical records on her personal display. "During the Terran conflict, Captain Chen led something called the Ghost Battalion. Special forces trained in deep space survival and asymmetric warfare. When we destroyed Earth, most humans died quickly, but those trained for the worst-case scenarios." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "They were prepared for exactly this situation," General Moxdai concluded, her crystalline voice tinkling like breaking glass. "Trained to fight when outnumbered, outgunned, with no hope of rescue or reinforcement." Admiral Zexthu pulled up tactical reports from the original Terran conflict. "Our military archives describe human special forces as unusually adaptable. They called it improvised warfare, turning anything into a weapon, using enemy technology against them, surviving in environments that would kill most species. But 50 years alone in the void?" Thakron's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his people. What could drive a being to survive that long with no purpose, except revenge? Veltar's serpentine form coiled tighter as she accessed classified files. According to intercepted human communications from their final days, Captain Chen had a family, wife, 2 children. They were in the primary target zone when we launched the orbital bombardment. The silence that followed carried the weight of understanding. They had created something beyond their comprehension. A being, stripped of everything that made life meaningful, left with nothing but the skills to survive and the will to make them pay. The attacks have been escalating, Admiral Zexthu noted, reviewing recent intelligence reports. First, he targeted scout ships and supply convoys. Then, patrol squadrons. Now he's going after capital ships with full defensive escorts. Each victory makes him stronger, gives him access to better equipment, more advanced weapons. He's learning our tactics, General Moxdai observed. Every engagement teaches him something new about our military capabilities. We're essentially training our own destroyer. Commander Thakran brought up holographic projections of the 3 most recent attack sites. Look at the progression. The first attack on the transport vessel Jexmina was crude but effective, explosive charges placed on critical systems. The second attack on the destroyer Velkaran showed improved understanding of our ship layouts. By the third attack on the battlecruiser Mordakan, he was moving through our vessels like he built them himself. Because he's studying wreckage from his previous victories, Veltar realized with growing horror. Every ship he destroys gives him intelligence on our technology, our procedures, our weaknesses. He's reverse engineering 50 years of military advancement. The implications sent a chill through the chamber. Their technological superiority, the foundation of their galactic dominance, was being systematically unraveled by a single human with nothing left to lose. We could withdraw from the outer sectors, suggested General Moxdai hesitantly. Consolidate our forces around core systems, wait for him to make a mistake, and show weakness to every other species watching this? Admiral Zexthu's forearms gestured dismissively. The moment they realize one human has us running scared, every suppressed rebellion in the galaxy will explode into open warfare. Our entire alliance depends on the perception of invincibility. Veltar accessed the chamber's main display, showing a galaxy-wide tactical overview. Red dots marked recent attack locations, forming a pattern that made the council members increasingly uncomfortable. He's not attacking randomly, she announced. These targets form a specific pattern. He's moving systematically through our outer defense networks, eliminating early warning stations and patrol bases. He's clearing a path toward something. Toward what? Thakran demanded. The display zoomed in on a heavily fortified system at the heart of Kralian space, Admiral Zexthu's homeworld, and the location of their primary military command center. Us, Veltar whispered. The realization hit them like a physical blow. This wasn't random terrorism or mindless revenge. Captain Marcus Chen was conducting a methodical military campaign with a clear objective: to destroy the leadership that had ordered his world's annihilation. He's coming for the council, Admiral Zexthu said slowly. Every attack brings him closer to our core systems. He's not just killing our crews. He's mapping our defenses, learning our capabilities, preparing for a final assault. How long? General Moxdai asked, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. Veltar ran calculations on her personal computer. Based on his current progression and the remaining defensive positions between his last known location and Kralian Prime, 6 months. Maybe less, if he accelerates his timeline. The council members sat in stunned silence as the scope of their situation became clear. They weren't just hunting a terrorist. They were being hunted by a predator who had spent 5 decades perfecting his craft in the cosmic void. 500 ships, Admiral Zexthu said finally. We mobilize everything we can spare from active duty. Destroyers, battlecruisers, carriers, support vessels. We hit him with overwhelming force before he can get any closer to our core systems. And if 500 isn't enough? Thakran asked quietly. The question hung in the air like a death sentence. None of them wanted to voice the obvious answer. That if their greatest military asset couldn't stop one human, their entire civilization might be in mortal danger. Then we evacuate the civilian populations from the target systems and prepare for siege warfare, Veltar said grimly. Because if Captain Marcus Chen has survived 50 years in the void with nothing but his hatred to sustain him, he's not going to stop until we're all dead, or he is. Admiral Zexthu stood, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of military determination. The fleet assembles in 72 hours. We end this threat once and for all. As the council members filed out of the chamber, none of them noticed the small maintenance drone attached to the outer hull of their space station. Its sensors had recorded every word, every tactical detail, every piece of intelligence discussed in their emergency session. Deep in the cosmic void, Captain Marcus Chen reviewed the intercepted transmission with grim satisfaction. They were finally taking him seriously. 500 warships, the largest fleet assembled since the Terran conflict. Perfect. It would make his final victory all the more devastating when he turned their own weapons against them once again. The Salvation Fleet stretched across the void like a constellation of death, 500 warships arranged in perfect battle formation. Admiral Zexthu stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Victory, watching tactical displays that showed the largest military deployment in galactic history. "Fleet status report," he commanded, his four arms working efficiently across multiple control panels. "All vessels operational, Admiral," reported his tactical officer, a young Kralian with 3 arms still developing. Destroyers Echo 7 through Echo 43 maintaining perimeter scan positions. Battle groups Alpha through Theta holding attack formations. Carrier squadrons have fighters ready for immediate deployment. 2. Zexthu nodded grimly. Somewhere in this sector of space lurked the human who had become their civilization's worst nightmare. 3 more ships had vanished in the past week, a patrol destroyer, a supply convoy, and most disturbingly, a heavy cruiser with full defensive escorts. Each loss had been discovered the same way. Vessels drifting powerless, crews missing or dead, all computer systems wiped clean. "Sir," called the communications officer. "We're receiving a priority transmission from High Command." "Sir," the main display activated, showing Veltar's serpentine form coiled around her command throne on the Council flagship Golden Serpent. Behind her, massive view screens displayed real-time feeds from across the fleet. "Admiral," she began without preamble, "our deep space sensors have detected energy signatures in grid reference Tango 77. Analysis suggests recent weapon discharges and drive plasma residue." "The Kepler's Edge incident?" Zexthu asked, referring to the heavy cruiser that had gone silent 36 hours earlier. "Confirmed. We found the wreckage 3 hours ago." Veltar's eyes dimmed, a sign of distress among her species. "Admiral, what we discovered changes everything we thought we knew about this human." A new image appeared on the tactical display, twisted metal and debris floating in a debris field that stretched for thousands of kilometers. But what made Zexthu's blood chill wasn't the destruction, but the precision of it. "The Kepler's Edge wasn't just destroyed," Veltar continued. "It was systematically dismantled. Primary power cores removed intact, weapons systems carefully extracted, even the computer cores surgically cut out with industrial precision. This wasn't sabotage, this was salvage operation." Admiral Zexthu felt his world shift slightly. "He's building something. That's our assessment. 50 years of salvaging our technology, combined with whatever he's been constructing in the void sector. Our xenoarchaeology teams believe he's created some kind of mobile fortress using components from dozens of our ships." The implications were staggering. They weren't hunting a lone survivor hiding in space. They were facing an opponent who had spent 5 decades turning their own technology against them, creating weapons they couldn't even imagine. "Fleet-wide alert," Zexthu commanded. "All vessels switch to deep scan mode. We're not looking for a small ship anymore. We're hunting something much larger." Across the fleet, 500 ships adjusted their sensor arrays, powerful detection systems reaching out into the cosmic void. What they found defied their understanding of physics and engineering. "Contact!" shouted the sensor operator, her voice cracking with disbelief. "Massive signature, bearing 27 Mark IV, distance 8,000 kilometers and closing." The main tactical display erupted with data as their most advanced sensors tried to make sense of what they were detecting. The reading showed something impossible. A vessel, nearly 2 kilometers long, composed of technology from dozens of different species, but assembled in configurations that shouldn't work. "Visual confirmation coming online," reported the tactical officer. The main screen flickered, then resolved into an image that made every being on the bridge freeze in terror. Emerging from the cosmic void like a nightmare made manifest was Captain Marcus Chen's creation. A massive warship built from the bones of their fallen vessels. The ship's hull was a patchwork of armor plating from Krallian destroyers, Scarvian battlecruisers, and serpentine carriers, welded together with human engineering that somehow made incompatible technologies work in harmony. Weapon emplacements bristled from every surface: plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, energy projectors, all modified and enhanced beyond their original specifications. But most terrifying of all was the ship's command section, clearly visible through the transparent aluminum viewport. There, surrounded by jury-rigged control systems and holographic displays, stood a single human figure. Captain Marcus Chen looked exactly as he had 50 years ago, preserved by advanced medical technology salvaged from their own ships. His gray eyes burned with an intensity that seemed to reach across the void and touch each crew member personally. This was the face of humanity's vengeance, and it was staring directly at them. "Open fleet-wide communications," Admiral Zexthu ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "Channel open, sir." Zexthu took a deep breath, then addressed the 500 ships under his command. "All vessels. This is Admiral Zexthu. We have visual contact with the target. All battle groups, implement attack pattern Omega-7. Destroy that vessel before it can." His words were cut off as the human ship opened fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The patchwork warship didn't attack like their vessels did, with organized volleys and tactical precision. Instead, it unleashed chaos itself upon their perfect formations. Quantum torpedoes streaked out in impossible trajectories, guided by human intuition rather than computer targeting. Plasma cannons fired in sequences that violated every principle of energy management, somehow drawing power from systems that shouldn't be able to support such output. Most terrifying of all, the ship moved like something alive, twisting and diving through space with an organic fluidity that made their precisely calculated intercept courses useless. "Destroyer Echo 15 is gone," reported the communications officer. "Direct hit to their reactor core. Echo 22 reporting massive damage. Their weapons are penetrating our shielding like it doesn't exist. Echo 31 has lost all power. They're drifting." Admiral Zexthu watched in growing horror as his perfect fleet began to crumble under the assault of a single ship piloted by one human. Their numerical advantage meant nothing when their opponent knew exactly how their weapons worked, exactly where their defenses were weakest, exactly how to turn their own technology against them. "Battle Group Alpha, concentrate fire on that vessel's command section," he ordered desperately. 50 ships turned their weapons toward the human ship's bridge, unleashing enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The energy barrage lit up space like a newborn star, and for a moment, Admiral Zexthu thought they had succeeded. Then the light faded, revealing the human ship still intact, its hull glowing with dispersed energy but showing no significant damage. "Impossible," whispered the tactical officer. That was enough firepower to destroy a battle station. Adaptive shielding, Admiral Zexthu realized with sick understanding. He's modified our own defensive systems. The ship analyzes incoming weapons and adjusts its protection in real time. The human vessel continued its deadly dance through their formations, leaving destroyed or disabled ships in its wake. But Admiral Zexthu began to notice something strange about the attack pattern. The human wasn't trying to destroy their entire fleet. He was systematically targeting specific vessels. "Communications array ships," he breathed. "He's taking out our communications network." As if responding to his realization, the human ship pivoted gracefully and launched a devastating attack against the Golden Serpent, Veltar's command vessel. The massive flagship, protected by the finest shields their technology could provide, lasted exactly 47 seconds under the human's assault. "Golden Serpent is down," reported the sensor operator. "Hull breach across 7 decks. Command section destroyed." Admiral Zexthu felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders like a crushing burden. High Magistrate Veltar was dead, along with most of the tactical command staff. The fleet was his responsibility now, and they were losing badly. All remaining vessels, implement Emergency Protocol 77 Alpha. Retreat to minimum safe distance and regroup for. His orders were interrupted by a new voice on the communication channel. A human voice, speaking perfect galactic standard, with a slight accent that marked him as a native English speaker. Admiral Zexthu of the Kralian Empire. The bridge fell silent as Captain Marcus Chen's voice filled the space around them. After 50 years of silence, humanity was speaking to the galaxy once more. I am Captain Marcus Chen, formerly of the Terran Defense Force, currently commander of the vessel Vindication. You know why I'm here. Admiral Zexthu activated his personal communication system, his 4 hands trembling slightly as he responded. Captain Chen, I am prepared to discuss terms for. No. The human's voice cut through his words like a blade. There will be no negotiations. No surrender. No mercy. You came here with 500 ships to kill 1 human. Let me show you what 1 human can do when he has nothing left to lose. The Vindication accelerated toward the center of their formation, its patchwork hull gleaming with reflected starlight. As it moved, the ship began to change. Sections rotating and reconfiguring as hidden weapon systems emerged from concealed compartments. He's modified that ship for sequential engagement, Admiral Zexthu realized with growing dread. It's designed to fight multiple opponents by constantly adapting its configuration. The human vessel reached the heart of their formation and unleashed hell itself. Weapons fired in all directions simultaneously. Each shot precisely targeted at critical systems. Ships began exploding in chain reactions as their own ammunition stores were detonated by impossibly accurate fire. Fleet status, Admiral Zexthu shouted over the chaos. We've lost 37 vessels in the last 4 minutes, his tactical officer reported, her voice cracking with stress. Another 68 ships reporting major damage. The human's ship is moving through our formation like we're standing still. Admiral Zexthu watched the tactical display with the fascination of someone witnessing their own doom. The human ship moved with deadly purpose through their ranks, leaving destruction in its wake while somehow avoiding their return fire. It was like watching a master surgeon work, except the patient was his entire fleet. Sir, we're receiving transmission requests from the remaining battle group commanders. The communications officer reported. They're asking for orders. Admiral Zexthu looked at the tactical display, where red icons marked disabled or destroyed ships, while the single green icon representing the human vessel continued its deadly work. In 30 minutes of combat, 1 ship had neutralized nearly a quarter of the largest military force in galactic history. Tell them to maintain defensive positions and protect the remaining command vessels, he ordered finally, and prepare a message probe for emergency transmission to High Command. Sir, tell them that Captain Marcus Chen isn't just alive. He's won. The human didn't die with his world. He evolved. As if summoned by his words, the Vindication appeared on their starboard flank, close enough that they could see details of its impossible construction. The human ship was beautiful in its deadliness, a work of art created from the weapons meant to destroy its builder. Through the command viewport, Admiral Zexthu could see Captain Marcus Chen standing at his control station, hands moving with practiced precision across displays that showed the tactical situation in real time. The human's face was calm, almost serene, as he conducted his symphony of destruction. Their eyes met across the void, and Admiral Zexthu saw something that chilled him to his core. Captain Marcus Chen wasn't angry anymore. He was happy. After 50 years of preparation, he was finally doing what he had been born to do. What they had trained him to do when they decided to make war on humanity. The Vindication fired once more. A precisely targeted shot that disabled the Eternal Victory's main engines and left them drifting helplessly. But instead of delivering a killing blow, the human ship began to withdraw toward the edge of the engagement zone. He's leaving, the tactical officer reported with obvious confusion. The human vessel is withdrawing from combat. Admiral Zexthu understood. This hadn't been a battle. It had been a demonstration. Captain Marcus Chen had wanted to show them exactly what they were dealing with. To let them understand the scope of their mistake. The message was clear. 500 ships weren't enough. Nothing they could bring to bear would be enough. They had created something beyond their ability to destroy. and now it was coming for them with all the patience and precision of a perfectly designed weapon. As the Vindication disappeared into the cosmic void, Admiral Zexthu began composing his final report. The Galactic Council needed to know that their greatest fear had come true. Humanity wasn't extinct. Humanity had evolved, and it was coming home. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the deepest bunkers of Kralian Prime, 50 kilometers beneath the planet's surface. What remained of their leadership huddled around a reinforced conference table, while automated defense systems cycled through continuous security sweeps above them. Admiral Zexthu, his once pristine uniform now bearing the scars of battle, stood before the holographic displays, showing the aftermath of humanity's return. Of the 500 ships that had hunted Captain Marcus Chen, only 97 remained operational. The rest were either destroyed, disabled, or worse, missing entirely. Their crews vanished without a trace. Report, commanded Interim High Magistrate Colvex, a massive crystalline being whose predecessor had died when the Golden Serpent fell to human weapons. The situation is beyond critical. Admiral Zexthu began, his forearms working to display tactical data across multiple screens. Captain Chen didn't just defeat our fleet. He harvested it. Our intelligence suggests he's now incorporated technology from over 300 of our vessels into his ship. General Moxdai's crystalline form flickered with nervous energy patterns. How is that possible? No single vessel could carry that much equipment. Because it's not a single vessel anymore, Admiral Zexthu replied grimly. He activated a new holographic display, showing sensor data from their final engagement. Long-range scans detected massive construction activity in the void sector. The human has built something we can barely comprehend, a mobile fleet yard capable of producing warships using our own technology. The assembled council members stared at the data in growing horror. The energy signatures suggested manufacturing capabilities that exceeded their largest industrial complexes, powered by fusion reactors salvaged from their own ships. He's building an armada, whispered Commander Thokron, his mandibles clicking rapidly. 50 years of preparation. And now he has the resources to construct a proper invasion force. Interim Magistrate Colvex's crystal matrix pulsed with deep purple light, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. How many ships could he potentially construct? Admiral Zexthu consulted his tactical computer, running calculations that made his stomach clench. Conservative estimates suggest he could field between 50 and 100 vessels within 6 months, each one incorporating the best technology from our combined civilizations, modified by human engineering that we don't fully understand. And crewed by whom? General Moxdai demanded. One human cannot operate an entire fleet. The question hung in the air like a death sentence until Admiral Zexthu activated his most classified intelligence files. Our xenobiologists have been analyzing tissue samples recovered from the attack sites. What we found changes everything we thought we knew about human biology. A new display appeared, showing microscopic analysis of organic material. Captain Chen has been using our own medical technology to enhance himself. Genetic modifications, cybernetic implants, life extension treatments. He's essentially immortal now. But more importantly, he's been cloning himself. The revelation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. If the human could create copies of himself, each with his tactical knowledge and burning hatred, how many? Colvex asked in a voice that barely registered above a whisper. Unknown. But sensor data from the construction site suggests life support systems capable of maintaining thousands of individuals. If each clone possesses the original's military training and 5 decades of accumulated tactical knowledge, Admiral Zexthu didn't need to finish the sentence. The council members could visualize the nightmare scenario themselves. An army of immortal human warriors, each one as dangerous as the original, commanding ships built from their own technology and driven by an unquenchable thirst for revenge. We need to evacuate the core worlds, General Moxdai said suddenly. Pull back our remaining forces to the inner systems and prepare for siege warfare. No. The voice came from an unexpected source. Junior Analyst Rix Tell, a young Kralian who rarely spoke in formal sessions. Respectfully, That won't work. Admiral Zexthu turned toward the analyst with interest. Explain. Rixtel activated his personal display, showing a galactic map with movement patterns highlighted in red. I've been tracking the humans' attacks over the past 6 months. The pattern isn't random. He's been systematically eliminating our early warning networks and communication relays. If we consolidate our forces around the core worlds, he'll simply cut our supply lines and let us starve. The young analyst's assessment sent another chill through the chamber. Captain Chen wasn't just seeking revenge. He was conducting a methodical campaign to dismantle their entire civilization. Then what do you suggest? Demanded Interim Magistrate Kolvex. Before Rixtel could answer, every alarm in the bunker began screaming simultaneously. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in crimson, as automated defense systems activated throughout the facility. Surface attack, shouted the communications officer. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace directly above the capital. The main display switched to external feeds from the planet's surface, showing a sight that defied comprehension. The sky above Kralian Prime was filled with ships, not the sleek, uniform vessels of their own fleets, but a collection of hybrid warships that seemed to have been assembled from the dreams of a madman. Each vessel was unique, built from salvaged components but designed with human creativity that turned familiar technology into something entirely new. Some ships bristled with weapon systems that had been modified far beyond their original specifications. Others carried massive manufacturing bays that were already deploying smaller craft. A few appeared to be mobile command centers, their hulls studded with communication arrays and sensor equipment. And at the center of the formation, easily recognizable despite its continued modifications, was the Vindication itself. Fleet count? Admiral Zexthu demanded, though he dreaded the answer. 87 vessels and climbing, reported the tactical officer. More ships are arriving every minute. Through the transparent aluminum viewport of his flagship, Captain Marcus Chen gazed down at the world that housed the leadership responsible for Earth's destruction. After 50 years of preparation, he had finally returned to finish what they had started. The clone of himself standing at the tactical station. Identical in every way except for the small cybernetic implant behind his left ear that marked him as Clone 07. Reported fleet status with mechanical precision. All vessels in position, original. Planetary defense networks have been neutralized. Ground assault forces are ready for deployment. Marcus nodded. His attention focused on the holographic display, showing the underground bunker complex, where the Galactic Council had taken refuge. His enhanced sensors could penetrate 50 kilometers of solid rock, revealing every defensive position, every escape route, every place his enemies might hide. Open a channel to the surface, he ordered. Channel open, original. Marcus Chen's voice rang out across the capital city of Kralian Prime, carried by hijacked communication networks to every receiver on the planet. Citizens who had never heard a human voice before listened in terrified fascination as their world's destroyer spoke. People of the galaxy, he began, his tone conversational despite the circumstances. My name is Captain Marcus Chen of Earth. 50 years ago, your leaders decided that humanity was a threat that needed to be eliminated. Today, I'm here to show you what a real threat looks like. In the bunker far below, Admiral Zexthu and the council members watched their tactical displays with growing despair. The human fleet had positioned itself with surgical precision, cutting off every escape route while maintaining perfect defensive formations. Your military leaders are hiding beneath your capital city, Marcus continued, his voice echoing through the bunker's communication systems. They think 50 kilometers of rock will protect them from judgment. They're wrong. The Vindication began to descend through the atmosphere, its massive bulk supported by gravitic systems that had been enhanced far beyond their original design specifications. As it descended, other ships in the fleet moved into supporting positions, their weapons trained on key infrastructure targets. Admiral, whispered the communications officer, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different species across the galaxy. News of the attack is spreading faster than our ability to contain it. Admiral Zexthu felt the weight of complete defeat settling on his shoulders. Not only had they failed to stop the human threat, but word of their failure was already triggering the collapse of their entire alliance. Every oppressed species in the galaxy was seeing this as their opportunity for freedom. Sir, reported the tactical officer. The human vessel has reached surface level and is beginning subsurface penetration. Our defense systems can't even slow it down. On the main display, they watched in fascination and horror as the Vindication simply pushed through layers of reinforced armor and defensive barriers like they were made of paper. The ship's modified hull plating included cutting tools that could slice through their strongest materials, while gravitic projectors cleared away debris without slowing its descent. "Time to contact?" Admiral Zexthu asked. "At current rate of descent, 47 minutes until they reach our level." Admiral Zexthu looked around the chamber at what remained of galactic leadership. Their proud alliance, built over centuries of careful diplomacy and overwhelming military superiority, was about to end at the hands of a single human they had failed to kill 50 years ago. "Open communications to the human vessel," he ordered finally. "Channel open. Captain Chen. This is Admiral Zexthu. I'm prepared to discuss terms for..." "No terms." Marcus's voice cut through his words like a plasma cutter. "No negotiations. No mercy. You had your chance to coexist peacefully. You chose genocide instead." The Vindication continued its relentless descent, crushing through defensive barriers that had taken decades to construct. With each passing moment, the sound of tearing metal grew louder in the bunker's corridors. "You destroyed my world," Marcus continued, his voice carrying the weight of 50 years of concentrated hatred. "You killed my family, my friends, everyone I ever cared about. You thought you were eliminating a threat. Instead, you created something far worse." Admiral Zexthu closed his eyes and tried to imagine what could have been different. If they had attempted diplomacy instead of destruction, if they had recognized humanity's potential as allies rather than enemies, if they had shown mercy instead of fear. "I want you to understand something," Marcus said, as his ship broke through the final barrier separating him from the council chamber. "This isn't revenge anymore. This is evolution. You taught me that the universe only respects strength, so I became stronger. You showed me that survival requires absolute ruthlessness, so I perfected it. You demonstrated that the only peace is the peace of the grave. So I'm here to give you exactly what you taught me." The ceiling of the council chamber began to crack and buckle as the Vindication's cutting beams carved through the final layers of protection. Emergency evacuation systems activated. But there was nowhere to run. The human had planned for this moment too perfectly. "In approximately 30 seconds, Marcus announced calmly, "I'm going to complete the lesson you started 50 years ago. The difference is, I learned it better than you did." Admiral Zexthu stood at attention, his forearms at his sides, as the ceiling collapsed and revealed the massive bulk of the human warship descending toward them. Through the bridge viewport, he could see Captain Marcus Chen standing at his command station, surrounded by identical clones and alien technology that defied understanding. The human's gray eyes met his across the distance, and Admiral Zexthu saw something that terrified him more than the weapons, more than the overwhelming tactical superiority, more than the imminent destruction of everything his civilization had built. He saw satisfaction. Captain Marcus Chen had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, and now that it had arrived, he was genuinely happy. The last human in existence was exactly where he wanted to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. "Any last words?" Marcus asked, his voice carrying clearly across the open space. Admiral Zexthu thought of his homeworld, his family, the billions of beings who would suffer for the decisions made in this chamber 50 years ago. He thought of the pride and arrogance that had led them to believe they could genocide an entire species without consequences. "We're sorry," he said finally. Marcus Chen smiled, the first genuinely human expression Admiral Zexthu had ever seen from him. "No," he replied gently. "You're not sorry yet, but you will be." The weapons fired, and the age of galactic dominance ended with the precision of a surgeon's blade. But Captain Marcus Chen's work was far from finished. He had an entire galaxy to educate about the consequences of crossing humanity. The lesson would take time to sink in properly. Fortunately, he had cloned himself an army of teachers, and they had all the time in the universe. After all, they were only human. And humans, as the galaxy was about to learn, were very good at teaching lessons that lasted forever.